I had always been fascinated by abandoned places, forgotten relics of the past where time stood still. But there was something different, something unsettling about old deserted movie theaters. Unlike crumbling factories or weather-worn mansions, theaters were meant to hold laughter, fear, awe, emotion. And when that energy is left behind, what remains feels unnervingly alive. I learned this the hard way. It started with a rumor, a small shuttered theater on the edge of town, closed since the late 1980s after a mysterious fire during a midnight screening. No one died, apparently. At least that's what the reports said. But people whispered about things. Staff disappearing, film reels playing by themselves, cold drafts in sealed projection rooms. My curiosity got the better of me. One rainy Friday evening, armed with just a flashlight, a voice recorder, and my old camcorder, I decided to investigate. The theater stood like a forgotten monument, its maroon paint peeling, the ticket booth shattered, and the marquee letters long since blown away by the wind. As I stepped inside, the musty scent of mold and burned wood filled my nose. My footsteps echoed on the torn carpet, and despite the storm raging outside, the air inside was unnaturally still. I made my way past the concessions counter, still cluttered with faded popcorn bags and syrup-stained counters, until I reached the main auditorium. Rows of dusty seats faced a tattered screen, and the silence was deafening. I turned on my recorder and whispered, "Is anyone here?" Almost instantly, I regretted it. Not because I feared a response, but because I didn't. That kind of silence eats into you. It makes you question your own heartbeat. But then something happened. A faint flicker sparked on the screen. Static. My camcorder started to glitch, even though it had a full battery. The air turned colder, like 1,000 eyes were watching me. I stood frozen, unable to look away from that screen, as if something was about to begin. A show meant just for me. I didn't realize it then, but that was the moment I crossed a line you can't uncross. I'll never forget what I experienced inside that place. What started as a simple exploration turned into a series of events I still struggle to explain. As I moved deeper into the theater, the air felt heavier, as if the building itself was resisting my presence. I decided to start with the projection room, the heart of any old cinema. The narrow staircase groaned under my feet as I climbed up. The door to the projection room was slightly ajar, and the hinges screeched like a warning as I pushed it open. Dust hung thick in the air, and the old reel projector stood frozen in time, its metal frame rusted and silent. But what caught my eye was a small notebook on the table, its pages yellowed and curling. I opened it. The handwriting was shaky, rushed. It belonged to someone named Mitch, apparently a projectionist back in the day. His last few entries were disturbing. The film keeps running even after I switch it off. I hear footsteps behind me, but no one is ever there. I saw someone in the mirror last night. It wasn't me. I turned the page and saw a final, unfinished sentence. If anyone finds this, don't let it play. Suddenly, the projector clicked to life behind me. I swear I hadn't touched it. The reel spun slowly, and a blank screen in front of the room began to glow. Black and white static filled the screen, but within seconds, an image emerged. A dimly lit hallway that didn't resemble anything in the building. It was somewhere else. The hallway stretched on, with a single door at the end. Then, without warning, The image zoomed toward the door, as if someone or something was racing down the corridor. I slammed the projector off, heart racing, but the screen continued playing for a few more seconds before fading to black. I didn't stay in that room. Something told me Mitch never left that projector booth. I hurried back downstairs, trying to convince myself that it was all just a mechanical malfunction. But as I reached the lobby, I heard the faintest sound of film running again. Somewhere behind me. I didn't look back. I entered Auditorium 2, which had been sealed off after the fire. Most of the chairs were melted, blackened skeletons. The walls were charred, yet somehow the smell of popcorn still lingered faintly in the air. I stepped cautiously down the aisle, shining my light along the ruined floor, when I noticed something disturbing. Footprints, fresh ones, leading down the row and stopping beside one of the seats. I followed them. There, lying on the floor, was a pair of old usher shoes. Shoes far too clean to have been sitting in that ash for decades. Before I could fully register what I was seeing, a low, rhythmic knocking started from the projection window above. Slow, deliberate, as if someone was tapping in code. I aimed my flashlight up toward the window, but it was empty. Then, the seat beside me creaked. I spun around, but no one was there. Just that same burned-out chair, slightly swaying, as if someone had just gotten up from it. The knocking stopped. I should have left then, but something kept pulling me toward the last place I hadn't explored. The basement. I didn't even know theaters had basements, but behind the concession stand, I found a narrow service door that led downward. It was pitch black, and the air was colder than anything I'd felt upstairs. The steps groaned under my weight, and the walls narrowed as I descended. At the bottom was a boiler room, or at least it used to be. Now it looked more like a storage space for things no one wanted to deal with. Old posters, broken film reels, shattered glass. But what chilled me to the bone was a chair. A single wooden chair in the middle of the room, facing a blank wall. Duct tape on the armrests, scratches on the floor, a blood-stained rag nearby. I don't know what happened there, but it wasn't right. My flashlight flickered again, and in that brief blackout, I heard breathing, right behind me. When the light came back on, I was alone. But the chair had turned slightly, now facing me. I ran. I didn't stop until I was out the front door, gasping for air as the rain poured down. But even now, days later, I feel like I brought something back with me. Sometimes I wake up to the sound of film reels spinning in my room. My TV turns itself on, showing static at 3:17 a.m. And once, just once, I saw a burnt figure standing at the end of my hallway, watching me. I don't think the theater ever wanted me to leave. I tried to convince myself it was all in my head. Hallucinations brought on by stress, lack of sleep, or maybe just the power of suggestion. But deep down, I knew better. That theater was more than abandoned. It was inhabited. Not by people, not anymore, but by something. Fragments of time, twisted echoes, or spirits too restless to fade. In the days after I left, I avoided mirrors. Not because I feared my reflection, but because sometimes it wasn't quite right. Once, brushing my teeth late at night, I looked up and saw myself staring back. But my reflection didn't blink when I did. It just kept smiling. The camcorder I had taken with me? I played back the footage. Most of it was fine. Dusty corridors, rotting wood, static shots of empty chairs. But in the middle of the reel, for about 12 seconds, Something strange appeared. Frames that weren't mine. I never filmed them. A red-lit room. A projector spinning on its own. A face I didn't recognize, twisted in a scream, eyes rolled back, as if it were being forced to watch something. I paused the clip, my finger trembling over the spacebar. The timestamp read match 3:17:42. That number again. I deleted the video. That should have ended it. But instead, that's when things got worse. At night, my room would grow cold, just like that basement. I began to hear the sound of footsteps pacing near my bed. The low hum of a projector rolling in the distance. I don't even own a projector. One night, I woke up to find my closet door wide open. On the floor was a single item that hadn't been there before. A movie ticket, faded, damp, and burned along the edges. The movie title, The Last Showing. No date, no time. Just the words "Admit One," printed in bleeding red ink. I stared at it for a long time before tossing it into the trash. The next morning, it was back on my nightstand. That's when I realized I'd been marked. That place didn't just let me walk out. It followed me. Or maybe a part of me never left. So now I ask myself, every night before I go to sleep, what did I awaken in that theater? What kind of force watches through those broken screens and silent seats? I know people like me think it's exciting to explore these places, to chase darkness for the thrill. But there's a difference between looking at a haunted place and being seen by it. And once it sees you, once it decides you're part of its story, you don't get to choose your role. I've thought about going back. Maybe to close whatever I opened. Or maybe just to face it finally. But the truth is, I'm afraid that if I do, I won't come back out this time. That whatever's playing in that projector isn't just a film, it's a trap, a loop, a memory it forces others to relive until they fade into the grain, one frame at a time. So I leave you with this. If you ever pass by a crumbling old theater, no matter how curious you feel, don't go in. Don't try to find the stories hidden in the dark, because some films aren't meant to be watched. They're meant to watch you back. And once the reel starts rolling, it never really stops. Even now, as I speak, I can hear it, whirring, spinning, waiting for the next showing, for the next viewer. Maybe that's you.